Welcome back. Now, in recent times, Kaduna State has continued to be a hotbed for insecurity, despite the moderate number of military establishments there. According to the ATIEP Community Development Association in the Zango Kataf local government area of the state, no fewer than 518 persons have been killed by armed herdsmen in various attacks on communities in the local government in the past 5 years. While disclosing this, the community blamed the lack of sincerity and determination on the part of the government and security agencies for the high level of attacks in the state. Addressing a press conference at Samaru, Kataf, in Zango Kataf, the national president of the association, Samuel Achi, also accused the military personnel deployed to the area of bias and not doing enough to stop the incessant attacks that have displaced about 20 communities and thousands of residents. Well, joining me now to discuss this further are security experts, Abdulrahman Hamisu, who joins us from Abuja, and joining us from Abuja is retired Captain Yahaya Jarabu. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Captain. When you hear, for instance, people, community leaders, in Southern Kaduna blame, for instance, security personnel posted to the area not doing enough. What do you make of that?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. You know, when we are talking about Southern Kaduna, we cannot just jump to what we are now. We have to look back. So many incidents happened from 1960 to 67 riot. Then go back and check what happened in 1990 and 1980 something. Kaduna Crisis, that some generals were indicted and were even persecuted by the court of law. You look at the intelligence aspects. Those people that are living in that place, they have so many intelligent people from the intelligence cycle. So influences in different form, using their personality and their influence, can be one of the major reasons why maybe the security agents may have complicity in the issue. And you know, Nigeria as a multi-religion and a multi-ethnic society, we are bound to live together, but that differences of ideology have divided us even though we are together. So all these things, when you look at it by and large, have caused so many setbacks to Nigerian development, in particularly the Southern Kaduna area. The issue of land dispute, which is the core causes, is the main remote cause of the crisis. People want to have land, and people who are living there, who are the original owners, the aborigine, who are by religion, they share different religion with the other side, who are the majority in the state. So that conflict is there. The religion intolerance is there, and unequal distribution of political offices, economic and other social activities, all are part of discussion. So it's not something that you just jump to conclusion. You have to check the history. You cannot go out of the history to get what you are today and thinking about the future. So look at it. We still need to see how we can tolerate each other, despite that we have different religion in this country or in where we are, particularly the Southern Kaduna people. That general hate and political struggle by the class of the people who are living there. We talk about Muslim and Christians. Today we have Muslim ticket. What are you talking about? They have done 8 years as a Muslim body. We are still coming out again. We don't need to live under the winners take all. Though politics is about calculation, strategies. You have to look at your opponent's weaknesses and his strength for you to jump and make our decision. So by and large, within the Southern Kaduna, there is Muslims who have been there for many years, decades, centuries. The Christians are the majority. What are they doing? They have to tolerate the other people. If you go to Northern Kaduna, do you think that there is no Christian there? There is Christians. But because the majority decided to say, leave them, let them leave. That's why there is peace. But the issue of Southern Kaduna, the majority Christians, they don't tolerate the Muslims. You understand? Then look at issue of farming land. People are looking for food, and they are living there. Most of Nigerians who are living in that area, they are peasant farmers. You refuse somebody to farm. Somebody has cattle. You refuse him to graze. We know, yes, you are the owner, but Nigeria is beyond that.
But isn't it a problem too when, for instance, you're grazing your cattle, you now graze on, people's farms and you destroy their farms? Isn't that a problem?
It's a big problem. It's a big problem in the sense that it is one of the major causes. But if you look at it, these people have been there for many years, more than 100 years. But normally we used to have grazing reserve. If you go to Nigerian map, you look at it very well, you see some green area which have been taken from all these Sambisa we are talking about. They are part of the grazing reserve that was reserved formally. And in each state, those grazing reserves have been earmarked. Grazing route have been earmarked up to Cameroon, up to Niger, up to Mali. Why? Today we have development. We have urbanization.
Captain, let me just pause you there, Captain. I'll come back to you. Let me go to Abdulrahman Hamisu. Mr. Hamisu, why do you think, especially Southern Kaduna, has become an intractable problem now? Why do you think it's just been difficult for peace to come to that area? Because, of course, this is not... The crisis there didn't start today. It started a long time ago. But several solutions have been thrown at the problem. But peace is still elusive. What do you think the problem is? And what could be the lasting solution?
Thank you so very much for your several questions rolled into one. I usually say that wherever there are conflicts and crises, there are parties to this conflict and crisis. If the mindset of the actors is to engender peace, there will be peace. By the time government will come to their aid. But when the mindset of the actors to the conflict tilted towards a continuous conflict and then the politicization of the conflict, then it becomes intractable and difficult to handle. I'm saying this with the benefit of insight because I was part of the team under the Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative that led a peace delegation to Mambila Plateau. And during the last crisis, several cattle were killed, people were wounded. And what happened? The people there wanted peace. And they worked together to ensure that there was no repeat. And by the time government went in, it was more or less like a support to people that are willing to have peace. Under the same initiative, the people of Machika and Madigali were brought together at a point where they were not collaborating. And then Boko Haram was running amok all over the place, killing their people because they were in conflict. After the intervention, they see the need for peace. And since then, up to this moment, they've worked for peace. The issue with Southern Kaduna is the politicization of the conflict. Let me give you another instance again in Plateau State. When under the PDP, the crisis of exclusion, inclusion of political office holding, and so on and so forth, led to the crisis in Plateau State, and then it became more or less like a conflict between Muslims and Christians. What did the people do? They resorted to vote out the PDP. And the Muslims and the Christians that are moderate collaborated to vote in Simon Lalong, that has been working for peace together with his deputy, Professor Theoden. This is how people that wanted to live in peace usually take steps not to escalate the conflict, but to de-escalate the conflict by ensuring that they are not taking actions that will lead to escalation or reprisal. Now, the problem we don't want to acknowledge in Southern Kaduna is the fact that the so-called enemy, the indigenous people of Southern Kaduna are fighting, are people that do not forgive. If they forgive, they don't forget. And they always come back to take their pound of flesh. Even the current killings that we're talking about, the police spokesperson said a boy was killed about 4 days ago. And then they were trying to manage that crisis. And then this very particular incident happened. It is known all over Nigeria and beyond Nigeria, even in Cameroon, that the people that they are fighting are people that if you do anything, they are going to retaliate, even if it takes 100 years, if they wish to retaliate. So in that situation, by the time you know the enemy you are dealing with, how to evolve strategies to ensure that there is no escalation will be the best thing to do. And I commend, for instance, the government of Kaduna State by establishing a peace commission. This peace commission is chaired by Most Reverend Idowu, somebody that is known to be a protector of the interest of Christians and other persons. So it is still surprising that despite the peace commission, there is no headway that has been achieved in terms of this particular conflict. And each time we talked about it, everybody seems to talk about their own losses. Nobody is talking about the other side losses. And conflict cannot be resolved if we cannot accept to say, look, we've done wrong to each other. And from this moment, we've resolved to work together, not to wrong one another again, to seek for peaceful solution, will not allow internal influence or external influence. Now, until such a time, but anytime there is conflict and then you have press conferences telling one side of the story without acknowledging the other side that is a party to the conflict, then there will be no solution. It will continue to escalate and it will become intractable.
All right. Let me come to you, Captain. Why is it that despite the huge presence, at least relatively huge presence of military in Southern Kaduna, in Kaduna State, especially Southern Kaduna, you have the police there, you have the army. Why is it that despite their presence, we still continue to have there's attacks and killings going on? What's going on? And then how would you respond to the accusation by one side that it appears the military is taking sides in the conflict?
By and large, the issue of military deployment or security sector deploying troops in that area is fundamental, but in the quelling security, you need collaboration. The political institution, the traditional institution, the community leaders, the youth leaders, the women wing, all these people need to accept that they want peace. Military can never, they are no magician. I was nearly become victim in the same Kaduna axis you are talking about. I was driving in the night. I now meet youth. They have blocked the road with a stick. They punch it with a nail all over the body for the frontage. They say I should park. I said, oh, let me park. As I move to park, I just zoom. After some distance, I made military checking point. I told them, look at what is happening behind. These people have already blocked the road. You are here. You don't know even what is happening. So at times, we need collaboration. Militaries, they are no magician. If they mount a checking point or roadblock here, like 200-300 meters within the community, they don't know what is happening. So, and this thing, it started from hiding to open. So, we have to cooperate. Using kinetic means of solving insecurity is order of yesterday. Today we are in a modern world. We are in a democratic era. We need peaceful, peace and conflict resolution committee We need dialogue. It's beyond the military. So we should not be accusing the deployment or the activities of the military. One, who know the victim, who know the aggressor, is the society. If you say military come here now, will they come and open fire to everybody? You will now call them extrajudicial killing, legitimate issue. The military has rule and regulation. They have code of conduct. They have standard means of operational procedure. In the battlefield, I come to this place, I'm here, somebody is inside his room making holding meeting, which I don't know. From there, he went around and commit. I don't know. So, one, we need intelligence from the community. Local intelligence is very important. If you say you must be using the military and the police or the security sector, you need to have a committee. That's why we have civil-military relation as a body within the military. So I expect within the local government that they used to have that problem, there should be that committee within them where the local will be giving them information. Military are using or are dealing with information. You can't go to operation without information. The society need to cooperate. The traditional ruler I mentioned, they have to be part of it, and they have to be willing to accept peace. Yes, if you are not willing to accept peace, you will not live together. Husband and wife, it's the same story now. You are sharing the same bed. Today you don't talk to each other. Tomorrow you talk to each other. Tomorrow you laugh. Anytime you always want to be in peace, you see yourself in peace.
The peace cannot cannot be enforced. You can't force the peace.
Yes, you can never do that. Go to what happened even at the United Nations level. What happened in Darfur, Sudan, before now? What happened in Liberia? Upon all the resources and the military mighty that Nigeria contribute to crisis in Liberia and Sierra Leone, at the end of the day, the dialogue resolve the crisis. It's the people that resolve the crisis. They want to be in peace.
Okay. Let me go to Abdul Rahman Hamisu now. This is quite instructive because in Kaduna and Southern Kaduna, to be specific, as I said, you have a huge number of security personnel there, and that has been the case for a number of years now, for as long as I can remember. But peace is still elusive. So, just as the captain is saying, military solution alone is not enough to bring about lasting peace in that area. What do you think?
That was exactly my point. Let us recast our mind back to the days of Boko Haram. The military was accused of being complicit. The military was accusing parents and elders of being complicit, despite the number of the military arsenal in Borno. There was nothing substantial that was achieved until the people themselves came together, especially the youth, under the civilian JTF, to say that we know something that we can volunteer to the military that will assist the military. And then civilian JTF was born. And then the civilian JTF was part of the solution to the crisis, because the youth were the ones that were being killed indiscriminately, because the enemy they were fighting were enemies that were not marked with military combat wears or combat gears, as the case may be. Now, these same civilian JTF were the people or the youth that took the military to the hideouts and the camps of the Boko Haram members. And that was how the military continued to achieve success up to this very particular moment. So, as the captain said, that is exactly my point. There is nothing the military can do. You cannot enforce, because you are dealing with people. And these people are supposed to volunteer information. Apart from volunteering information, they must take steps away from anything that will lead to escalation. What we are witnessing is escalation that is coming as a result of reprisal killings. So you kill my own persons and then you keep quiet about it. There was no press conference. I retaliate. I don't issue press conference, and you issue press conference that you are not protected. Peace is not won that way. And I gave the example of a Plateau State. At a point when Plateau continued to boil, what did the people do? the Muslims and the Christians resolved, and they voted out the party that they thought was not performing, that was not protecting their interests, that was taking steps to escalate the crisis among the two groups. And then they brought in this very particular current government. And between that time and now, you could see that despite the pocket of skirmishes here and there, it was not like the Plateau State that we witnessed from 1999 to 2007. And then if you talk about the military enforcing peace, the military ought to have even enforced peace in Kaduna State, if that is the case. Kaduna State is the home state of Mr. President for God's sake. And then the bandits have taken over Kaduna State. People have been sacked. They become refugees. They become displaced persons in their own state. You go to Zamfara, the same thing is happening. And that is why I said it is a law in conflict resolution. The people themselves must convince themselves that enough is enough. We have to work for peace. Until such a time, no any external power can come and do anything. And the captain mentioned, I don't want to mention Sierra Leone or Darfur or any other place. I'm using Nigeria as a case study. And I gave you the instance of what the federal government did in Gembu, which is a Sadauna local government, the one that is popularly known as the Mambila Plateau. I gave you the instance of Mitika Madagali, where the people themselves understood that it's either they come together to work together or they perish. So until such a time.
How complicated is it, Mr. Hamisu? How complicated is it when a side begins to accuse the military of taking sides in the conflict?
It's not complicated, DG. It's a simple fact that we need to abide by. You see, there is something that we need to understand. When my own crime is not a crime, but my opponent's crime is a crime, then it becomes a problem. Until I accept that my crime is a crime and my opponent's crime is a crime. So we need to define this crime and say, look, never again, both of us, nobody should go into this crime again. So we should assist each other to heal. This is the first foundation that will lead to lasting peace. Then if you continue to politicize it, and you have irresponsible journalists and journalism that tend to paint a picture that feed into a trend that shows that, okay, the conflict is about Islam or is about Christianity because there is that sharp division, then we're not going to get a solution to it because everybody will look at it from that lens. But when we see it that, okay, the people that are killing themselves are Nigerians, they are indigenous of Kaduna State, and that they deserve peace and they need to work together. Ours is to give them that support to work with them as indigenous, as Nigerians. But by the time you cast this very particular conflict as between indigenous and settlers, it means that there is a dichotomy that excludes other persons. And where there is exclusion, I bet you there would be a fight because nobody, and that is why we have this indigenous settler crisis when we returned to democracy in 1999, where some people will say you cannot contest election because you are a settler that has been there for, say, 100 years. You go to, for instance, you go to Enugu, you go to Sabo, and the people have been there for more than 500, for more than 100 years, and you say they cannot express their vote. Just to even cast the ballot, you will deny them that right. You go to Sabongari in Kano, you said those people that have been there for more than 3 generations, they cannot even aspire to even cast their ballot for anybody they choose to vote for. You are cutting disaster because man by nature will fight back when he feels or perceives any sense of exclusion or injustice. So it is something that is happening across the nation that we ought to profile solutions to and ensure that there is peace and development. Because in an atmosphere of peace, everybody benefits. In an atmosphere of violence and conflict, anybody is a potential victim. So in such a situation, we need to be careful the way we cast and frame this conflict so that there will be no exclusion. People will not feel sidelined. People will not feel they are framed as the enemy, and then they don't get justice. So no matter what government wants to do, even with the Peace Commission in Kaduna, if the actors that are fighting each other don't want peace, these persons cannot go to meet them to say, let us meet and work for peace. Because the action they will take in the afternoon will be different. The action they will take at night will be different. And that makes a whole difference. And that is why military are finding it difficult in Nigeria to surmount crisis.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show and for expressing your thoughts now. Thank you so very much. Retired Captain Yahaya Jarabu, thank you very much for coming on the show. And of course, Abdul Rahman Hamisu, who is also a security expert, thank you very much for your time. Well, that's how much we can take on the program this week. We thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.